Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with the protagonist, Michael Jennings, buying a three-dimensional digital display called Life. Following that, he will be hosted for 2 months by barrister Rita Dunn, who has been his laboratory since its inception. When Michael is alone, he disassembles the A-Life monitor, and examines its hardware and programming. He presents his version of the A-Life technology, which no longer needs a monitor. The interactive hologram impresses the investors, who insist that it be released immediately. They erase Michael's recollection of the previous 2 months. After reassuring that his memory of his work is erased, Rita reminds him that he was never legally affiliated with Nexum, and that his creation is now Nexum's intellectual property. He doesn't care and merely requests his pay. Shorty assists Michael in training his reflexes, to guarantee his brain's recovery. Soon, Michael visits an event hosted by his old college roommate, and listens to all of COM's CEO James' speeches. He encounters Dr. Rachel Porter, a biologist who works for James. After a brief conversation, Michael boldly invites her to a private location, but Rachel laughs, and instructs him to find her again. Then James finds Michael, and offers him a position with a salary guarantee of at least 8 figures. However, the job will require 3 years to complete. Michael is hesitant to forget these years, but James assures him that it will be an investment for the rest of his life. He makes his way around campus. He encounters John Wolfe, James's right-hand man, who informs him that he will not be allowed to leave campus for the next 3 years. In James' office, John checks Michael's brain with a marker. Michael hesitates but agrees, despite his lack of experience with the procedure. James shows him the greenhouse. A robot hands him a flower, and he notices Rachel gripping the controls. He apologizes for his actions at the event, but James cuts him off. He takes Michael to a secure area of campus, where he encounters Dr. William Decker. Michael wakes up 3 years later with no memory of what occurred. James cheerfully informs him that the task is complete. Michael comes home, and uses his computer to check his bank account. He laughs as he sees more than $90 million in his account, and returns to reclaim the things he gave to the bank teller. Jane gives him an envelope, but the contents are unfamiliar to him. Still, he dismisses it, because he is more interested in profiting from his company's stock. Jane, on the other hand, discloses that he forfeited his shares 4 weeks ago. He is adamant that he would never do such a thing at home. He closes the door, and calls James, who is not available. His door unexpectedly opens. When Michael hears a movement in the kitchen, he hurries inside to get a bat, and strike the intruder. He tries to flee, but another guy pins him to the wall. More men are dispatched to capture him. Later, FBI agents Dodge and Klein question him, accusing him of reverse engineering secret technology. It turns out that William Decker is a government physicist, whose project was shelved 3 years ago. They think James purchased Decker's design, but Decker was recently murdered, and they are unable to prove James' involvement. Nonetheless, they discover Michael's signature on patent applications, designs identical to Decker's. This demonstrates that he recreated Decker's secret project. The investigators try to enter his brain, to recall his memories. They attempt to access his memory, but are unable to discover anything useful. Dodge tries to smoke, but the smoke alarms are activated, flooding the room with dry chemicals. Michael takes advantage of the opportunity to flee, but collapses on the table, where his alleged possessions are. He takes sunglasses, and puts them on, enabling him to see clearly through the fog, and takes the object and sneaks out the door, reasoning that it may be useful. Outside the headquarters, John is taken aback to discover that Michael has fled. The officers pursue him into a bus terminal. Someone runs into Michael, causing him to lose the envelope containing a bus ticket. He quickly uses the ticket to enter the terminal, and then loses the agents. On a bus, Michael opens the package, and discovers a lens, an Allcom swipe card, and a ring. When a young man notices the ring and steals it, Michael chases him out of the bus, but comes to a halt when he notices that he has returned to his bank. He enters, and asks Jane who sent him the package. She shows him the document, and implies that he sent it. Meanwhile, James emphasizes that Michael was supposed to die earlier, leaving the FBI with no new clues in the case of Alan Kong. Except for Michael's death, everything else happened as planned. When James examines the machine that Michael built, it encounters an error. When he realizes Michael sabotaged them, he orders John to locate him. In a motel, Michael examines the contents of the package, discovering a fortune cookie message with a bank code, a hairspray, an Allen wrench, a paper clip, keys, a coin, ball bearings, and a matchbook from a bank that doesn't exist. Among the items and a single bullet, he also examines the crossword puzzle. Later, He goes to meet Shorty at a train station. A stuffed toy bird sparks a memory with Rachel. On his uniform, he also notices a maintenance crew, from a business called Edison. Michael goes through its contents, and discovers a key on the Edison keyring. Soon, Shorty arrives. Michael explains the story, and shows Shorty the items, but he is unaware of them. Michael tells that the agents claimed he worked with Decker, who Shorty knows as someone who supposedly worked on a government laser. Michael sees the lottery numbers displayed on a nearby television, realizing that the numbers on the fortune cookie message match. He notices that the items in the envelope assisted him in escaping and returning to the bank. He believes he gave up the money to ensure he paid attention to the items, because the machine he constructed enabled him to see into the future. Meanwhile, James discovers that the machine's circuitry has been tampered with, despite his scientist's assurances that he can repair it. Given this, James contacts John to inform him that they no longer require Michael. Michael believes that the machine allowed him to see the future. When someone pulls out a pistol, Michael takes Shorty away. He hands Shorty the Edison key, and tells him to flee through the maintenance door. Shorty ducks as he flees, and Michael tackles the guy who is shooting. He attempts to flee, but the men fire at him. He attempts to steal a man's pistol, but is shot by another. He hurls the other guy against the wall until he's thrown off. He then rushes downstairs, and slips through another maintenance entrance, but the men pursue him. When he is cornered by two armed men, he uses hairspray and a lighter to defeat them, and takes a gun. He bolts outside, but lands on the railroad tracks. One of the men approaches him, but John shoots him, and aims a gun at Michael. The lights on the tracks change to green, signaling an impending train. Michael loads his gun clip into the tracks, creating an explosion, to divert John's attention. Michael goes to the circuit board, and uses a paper clip to halt the train. He then runs ahead of the train, until the paper clip sparks on the track, causing the train to come to a halt. The agent informs Attorney General Brown at the FBI headquarters that Michael appeared to have planned his escape. They look at the images extracted from Michael's memory, and speculate that he anticipated what would happen. Brown reveals that Decker worked on a laser-enhanced lens, that could allegedly see into the future. Michael is awakened the next day by flashes of himself being shot. He washes his face to relax, before dripping water over the bank matchbox, exposing the hidden Café Michel logo. Rachel, meanwhile, feeds her pet birds in her condo. When James comes to visit, he discloses that Michael has left everything, and has raised his memories. Rachel maintains that Michael promised not to do it, but James claims that they paid Michael a large sum. Later, James and John watch security footage from inside Rachel's apartment, assuming Michael left her something. They observe Rachel as she begins to take a shower, filling the bathroom with steam. She grins unexpectedly, but James doesn't understand why. When she exits the apartment, a man follows her. While John and this guy inspect her apartment, he follows her into the greenhouse. She returns to a coworker and hops to the left, leaving the man below to observe her. She grabs her luggage and flees. Meanwhile, John fogs up the mirror with hairspray, showing Michael where to meet at the cafe. Michael notices the Rachel body double decoy at the cafe. Maya comes, and he sits with her, unaware that her button contains a camera that transmits the footage to James. Maya insists on being Rachel, but Michael can't confirm, because he doesn't recall her. Meanwhile, John notices police officers outside the cafe, and is unable to fire. As a result, Maya stalls by telling a tale about their relationship. During the discussion, James notices Michael's envelopes, and assumes that's how he's getting away. Maya pretends to be aware of the envelope, and says that Michael is supposed to give her something, as James directs. Michael examines the contents, and James instructs Maya to accept the all-come swipe card. She instructs him to wait for her, and kisses him goodbye, but this brings back his memories of the real Rachel, so he asks her which baseball club he supports. The police officers eventually back off, enabling John to aim. Maya pulls out a gun, knowing her cover has been blown. Rachel suddenly strikes Maya out. When Michael notices John outside, he and Rachel duck while he fires. Before they flee into a parking lot, Michael retrieves his belongings, and swipes his card from Maya's backpack. He presses the remote lock, remembering the car key in his envelope, only to discover it's for his motorcycle. As John and his men chase them, Michael rides away. They go against the flow of traffic in order to catch up with them, but they keep going. They try to obstruct Michael's route, so he takes a sharp turn. Still, the men are on his tail, so he maneuvers until a truck collides with one of them. Michael arrives at the shipping port, and drives into container vans, but he drops the envelope. Rachel dashes off to collect it, leaving him to deal with their pursuers. John fires Rachel, but she hurries to retrieve the envelope. After the vehicle collides with a sewer pipe, Michael swerves his motorcycle in front of Rachel, causing gravel to fall on another vehicle and causing it to collide. He finds Rachel, and they leave right away, just as police cars arrive, forcing John to stop. Michael squeezes into a tunnel that is too small for the vehicles. Still, one cop pursues Rachel, until she throws her helmet at him. The two return to Michael's motel that evening. Michael is still suspicious of Rachel, so she gives him a photo album, realizing he doesn't recall her. He peers through it, but nothing brings back memories of her. The following day, Michael notices the stamps on the envelope, recalling that he listed 20 things in the bank's record, but only found 19. He examines the stamps carefully, noticing that one is unique. They borrow a microscope from a neighboring school to examine hidden news articles. The articles expose all of Calm's devices, foretelling catastrophes that will lead to nuclear war. Michael believes that the forecast will only make matters worse, so he decides to destroy the machine. They go to the outcome site. While waiting in line for security, they drop ball bearings into the metal detector to set off the alarm, creating a distraction that allows them to enter. When James notices their movement, he orders his guards to stop Michael. When the couple arrive at the machine, they already suspect it as a trap. Brown gathers the team to capture either Michael or the machine after an undercover agent reports their location. Michael opens the door panel with the wrench, and jams the reader with a coin inside the lab. They then turn on the equipment, only to discover that it is broken. He goes to the server area, concluding that he bugged it. He employs the crossword problem to locate and eliminate the bug. When James notices that the machine is functioning, he dispatches his men to apprehend Michael, who activates the machine, and witnesses himself being shot on the catwalk. Knowing he has altered his future, he is sure that he can do it again. When the guards try to open the door, Michael and Rachel go to the server room to plan their getaway. He takes the bullet from his envelope, and sees the hydrogen tanks that fire in succession. Before they exit through the vent, he puts the bullet on the sixth tank. They are already escaping when John and his men arrive. Michael knocks out 2 guards in order to obtain a gun. As more guards open fire on them, they flee into the greenhouse. Michael fights the men in order to free Rachel. However, she is cornered by another guard, so she battles back. He eventually defeats the guards, but another points a gun at him. Rachel switches the gun into Michael's hands, enabling him to defeat them. When another guard takes Michael's gun, she uses the robot to give him a bamboo stick, which he uses to battle the other guards. At the lab, Michael's demise on the runway is seen by James using the machine. Rachel uses stimuli to distract the guards at the greenhouse, enabling Michael to strike them down. When James comes with a gun, Michael leads Rachel to an exit. He shoots the mechanism after she leaves, trapping himself inside. He informs her that because the machinist is at fault, he must pay for it. She refuses to abandon him, but he advises her to live a good life in order to honor their love. He confronts James after Rachel departs in tears. James lowers his gun, daring him to alter his fate. He pauses, enabling James to beat and strangle him with cables. Michael detaches the tank in order to push him away, and then battles to gain the upper hand. James strikes him out with the tank, and ties the cables on the lift to hoist him up. While FBI agents storm the lab, James drops Michael off on the catwalk to meet his end. When Brown discovers that James has kidnapped Michael, he orders his man to kill Michael, so that he does not fall into James' hands. The exit on the catwalk opens exactly as anticipated by the machine. Michael turns around to discover Rachel detained by all of the guards. The two reunite, as James recalls how they could have lived happily ever after if Michael hadn't sabotaged the program. As the FBI officers and James point their gun, Michael's watch alarms him to leave. The couple jumps out of the path, causing the agent's bullets to hit James. When John activates the machine, he witnesses his demise seconds before the tanks explode, leaving him no time to flee. FBI officers arrive at the lab soon. Brown is furious that the machine's records have all been destroyed. The investigators discover Michael's watch, implying that he is still alive. However, when Brown inquires about him, the detectives lie and claim that he did not survive. Later, Michael helps Rachel with her new greenhouse. When Shorty arrives with Rachel's pet birds, Michael remembers the fortune cookie message. He looks under the cage, and discovers a lottery ticket with the lucky numbers, earning them $90 million. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.